You asked for it. This is part 2 of decluttering roadblocks. We're going to talk about regrets. We're going to talk about what to do on those days when you don't want to declutter, all of that fun stuff. Let's go. Hi guys, it's Laura and let's jump right into it. Let's talk about that feeling that you're just being wasteful. You know, you have all this stuff and it would just be a waste to let it go, to not use it, love it, wear it, whatever. First way to overcome this then is to find some way to donate it, recycle it, upcycle it, reuse it in some way. It doesn't have to be with you necessarily, but you could pass it on to someone else who can turn it into something new, or just recycle it, reuse it, get some extra use out of it. You can also focus on natural decluttering, using something up. Let's say you have 2 or 3 different shampoos and one you never use, so you're thinking about getting rid of it and you're thinking, oh, I paid money for this, I still technically could use it, etc. Then use it. Use it up, commit to yourself that you're going to use it up and get rid of it that way. It's not a waste if you're actually giving it a second chance at life, a new lease of life, by donating it to someone else or by reusing it in some way or using it up in some way. But let's say it is trash. It is just something that you can't donate, you can't really do anything else with. I want you to remember that no matter what you do with it, it is still trash. It is trash whether it is sitting in a landfill. It is trash whether it is sitting in your home. There's really no way around that. The waste was kind of created when the item was created. What you can do here is let it inform future purchases so that you don't continue to create waste. So if you bought something thinking that you'd use it and you haven't, let that inform your future purchases. Don't make that mistake again, so you don't end up with 10 different shampoos that you're not going to use. But if it is still in some serviceable condition, don't kind of hoard it just because it is usable. Pass it on to someone else who will actually use it. It is selfish of you to keep something just because it has some use if you're not actually using it. You know, something being useful, its only use is in if you are actually using it, not just storing it and keeping it like shoved in a drawer somewhere. Pass it on to someone who will actually use it. Kind of similar to that then is thinking that it might be important, that you might actually use it someday. This is where you have to be really honest with yourself. Okay, ask yourself, how long have you actually had this item and how many times have you used it during that time? And also, when was the last time you used it? Because maybe you bought it a long time ago and in the beginning it was useful and you used it all the time, but since then you haven't actually used it. It's just fallen off your radar. You don't love it or use it as much anymore. Maybe you've shoved it in the back of a drawer, in the back of a cupboard, into a closet, something like that. Maybe you've just recently rediscovered it. You know, you opened a drawer to get something and you found it at the back and you were like, oh yeah, this thing. Listen, if you have forgotten about it once, you're going to forget about it again. If you have not used it in a long time, it means you haven't needed to use it in a very long time. There is a reason you forgot you had it. There is a reason it was stashed away somewhere. You don't forget about things that you need and use on a regular basis. So how long have you had it? How many times have you used it since then? When was the last time you used it? And did you actually forget you had it? If you did, or you can't remember the last time you used it, or it's been a while, it's obviously not that important. You have survived thus far without it. You can continue to survive without it. Again, don't be selfish. Let someone else use it. That's very similar then to this next one, which is the what ifs. That's what I call them. What if I need it someday? What if I lose the weight and then can fit into this thing? What if I am in some situation, you know, I declutter this thing, I'm in some situation and then I think, oh, I really could have used that item. We will come back to regrets a little bit later on. What if I suddenly find the time or the money to spend on this thing? Yes, but also, what if you didn't? You can't live a life of what if you are not currently using that item. The chances of you using it in future are pretty slim. The fact that you have shoved it in a drawer somewhere or put it somewhere out of sight means that you're not living that what if life. You are living your actual life, your real life. If you really wanted and needed it, you would have used it by now. And yes, sometimes that is a very bitter pill to swallow, knowing that actually this, life that you created in your head is not the life that you're actually living. That can be hard, but it's also very liberating to realize that you don't have to hang on to that guilt or that kind of alternate reality anymore. You can just accept the life that you do have and use the things that are actually fitting in with your current lifestyle. Don't live a what if life. You deserve so much more than an if only. Let it go and make space for the things that actually do fit in with your life right now. The next thing then is that separation anxiety. When you go to part with something and there's just that little bit of a twang, you're not quite sure that you can officially let it go. Now, I did kind of touch on this in the last video where I talked about giving yourself permission to keep things. There is no obligation to get rid of something. That can be really helpful because it can eliminate that kind of tug that you feel. Like you're not forcing yourself to get rid of anything. You are choosing to get rid of something. Still, it can be difficult in some situations to just release your grip on something. A good example in my life is my daughter's old things, old toys, old books, old clothes, things like that. I know that I don't want to keep all of that stuff in my house, but at the same time, every time I go to donate it, I'm like, ugh. So let me give you some ways to overcome that. The first, and Marie Kondo talks about this in her book, The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up, and I know that a lot of people have kind of made fun of this. I certainly was one of those people back in the day, but when I first committed to doing the KonMari method, I said I was going to follow it by the book. I was going to go exactly as she had outlined it. And the thing that she talks about is thanking your items before letting them go. Listen, I thought this was ridiculous, I'm not gonna lie, but like I said, I was following it step by step and I did it. I thanked my items and it actually made a big difference. It made me feel like I had appreciated that thing, that it had kind of served its purpose and its kind of natural life with me had come to an end. But yes, by taking a moment to just be grateful for that thing, that can make a big difference. So don't knock it till you've tried it. Another thing that can really help here is to remember your vision. Remember, what you are trying to achieve with this. What is the outcome that you want? A clutter-free home, a space to craft, whatever it may be for you. Keep that vision in mind, and that will help you to let go of some things because you're not really getting rid of things. It's not about forcing yourself to get rid of things. It's about creating a life that you actually want to live. By remembering your vision, you will realize that that particular thing doesn't fit into that vision. It's not part of what you're trying to create. That can make it a lot easier to say goodbye. And the final thing I will say here on this point before we move on to regrets is to donate it to somebody that you know. This was a big help for me when it came to my daughter's toys. I donated them to a local school, and seeing how happy the teachers were, seeing how happy the kids were to get that stuff, that really made it so much easier for me. It really improved the whole experience. Sometimes I feel, and I'm a big advocate for, donating stuff and giving it a second chance at life and giving someone else a chance to use that thing and love that thing. But sometimes it can be difficult because it's a little bit more anonymous. You're giving your things to a charity shop and you don't know where it's going to end up. And that can sometimes, for me at least, particularly with my daughter's things, like I said, it can just add a little bit of a sting to it. Whereas if I know that it is going to a school, or if I know that it is going to a particular person, a particular organization or something like that, if I can kind of see where it ends up, that makes me feel so much better. So give it to a friend, give it to a neighbor, give it to a family in need, give it to a school, wherever. If you know where it's going to end up, that can really help you to release it out into the world. Okay, regrets. Yes, I've had a few. Listen, regrets are not actual things. Regrets are you possibly worrying about something that may or may not happen in the future. It's all of those what ifs. It's not actual reality. It is you anticipating a situation that may or may not come to fruition. And even if it does come to fruition, it may not even be nearly as bad as you think it will be. I know that's always the case for me. Anytime I worry about something, it just never turns out to be as big a deal as I made it. Are you really going to spend your life possibly worrying about something? No. You can't live like that. Again, go back to that question about how often you actually use it. When was the last time you used it? And you can use that thing that we talked about when it came to, that separation anxiety, which is giving it to a loved one or giving it to an organization, knowing that it is going to be put to good use, not just, like handing off all of your stuff to someone, but if they genuinely want it, if they will genuinely use it, then go for it. That can really help you to let go of those regrets. And there are plenty of questions that you can ask yourself that are going to make sure that you are making the right decision. I have made a whole other video on that. I will link it for you. So go through those, make sure that you're making the right decision. Things like, could you replace it? If you did find that in the future you did need it, could you use something else instead? Chances are yes. There are very few things in this world that are irreplaceable. If you are really unsure, then just box it up. Slide it out of the way, leave it there for like 3 months, 6 months, whatever, stick a note in your diary. And then at that time, ask yourself, hey, did I miss this thing? Did I remember it was still in that box? Did I need it at all during that time? Did life go on without it? It's like a trial separation. 99.9% of the time, you will realize that you didn't even miss that thing and you can happily move on without it. Okay, let's talk about when you want to retrieve something that you have decluttered. You decided to declutter it and then afterwards you were having second thoughts, you were second guessing yourself, and you want to creep back and pull it out of wherever you had stashed it. Or maybe it's family members who are doing it. You have decluttered stuff, you've boxed it all up, and then they're creeping down the stairs at night and going through the stuff and taking things back out. This is going to be a 2-step process. Step number 1, close those bags, close those boxes. Do not use anything that is clear, anything that is see-through. Put it in a black bag, put it in a box, close it up, make sure that you cannot see the contents, because out of sight, out of mind. And then step 2, and I'm sure you know this one is coming, but that is get it out of your house as quickly as possible. The longer it sits there, the more you're going to ruminate on it. If it's kind of still there, you're thinking, I still have access to it, I could still go get it. If it's sitting in a charity shop somewhere or you have shipped it off somewhere else, you will just forget about it. The quicker you can get rid of it, the quicker you can move on with your life, and your family members too, as long as obviously you've had their permission to get rid of that stuff. Okay, let's talk about those times then when you just do not want to declutter. You're having a day, you don't want to do it. I want to reassure you at this point that is perfectly normal. There are plenty of time, in fact most of the time, I do not want to declutter, and it's usually after I have already pulled everything out. That's when I decide that I don't actually want to do this. But it's important to remember that not every day is going to be a great day. Not every day is going to produce massive results for you. Life is up and down. That's normal. You can't win all the time. So take those rest days. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. There is nothing forcing you, unless you've got like a big move or something coming up, then you're just going to have to suck it up. It's temporary. Get over it. But look, if it is a day where you just do not want to declutter, you just can't face it, don't. It goes back to that thing about, there's nobody forcing you to declutter. You don't have to let go of anything. If you're just not ready, if you're not in the mood, if your energy levels aren't up there, maybe your health has taken a hit, you don't have to do it. Take a rest. Take a break. Review your progress. Look back at how far you've come. Look at your before pictures. Not every day has to be an on day. And there are also other things you can do. Just because you're not actually physically decluttering, maybe you are making plans for your next decluttering session. Maybe you are calling companies to get off junk mail lists. Maybe you are cancelling subscriptions and things like that. So you are working on stemming the flow, stopping future clutter from coming into your home. There are so many other other ways that you can help the process without actually having to be in the trenches. But yeah, some days you just need to sit down and think, you know what? I've done enough. For now, at least. Today is not my day, but I will live to fight another day. Actually, on this note, can you let me know if you would like to see a video, because I've been kind of thinking about this for a while, a video on what you can do on those days when your energy levels are low, your motivation is low, maybe you're having a bad health day. On those days when you can't really do as much, but you still want to make some progress. Would you like to see a video on that, like different things that you can do that are still going to move you forward without requiring you to, expend a lot of energy that maybe you don't have on that particular day? Yeah, let me know if you want to see that one. The next one then that I want to talk about is when you are feeling completely overwhelmed. You have maybe pulled everything out, you feel like you just got in over your head, maybe you're not making as much progress as you would like, maybe you've kind of just started and you're focusing on how much is left to go. This happens to me all the time. I've been decluttering for a long time now and I still look around my home and think, will this ever be done? Will I ever be done with this? What I would say in those situations is to take a break and go do an activity that is part of your vision. Like, why are you decluttering? You have a very personal reason for doing it. You want to create more space and time for yourself. Maybe it's so that you can engage in a favorite hobby. Maybe it's so that, I don't know, your kids have a play area, whatever it may be. Maybe you want a little reading nook. You just want to create some time that you can sit down and read. Now is a great time to actually incorporate those things into the here and now, into today. Something that is going to calm you, something that is going to rejuvenate you, something that is going to give you a taste of the life that you're trying to create. Because very often we put these things off and we think, okay, that's the end goal. That's what I'm going to end up with. Once I've done all of this other stuff, I will be happy when. No, you can experience that thing, or at least a part of that thing, right now. You don't have to wait to do that. You can also write yourself a little list of rewards that you're going to give yourself after you declutter this cupboard, after you donate 10 items or whatever it may be. Give yourself those little milestones, those little wins along the way that you can check off and that will keep you motivated. But again, we all have those days where we're just not feeling it, or we are completely overwhelmed and we don't want to do anything else. Take those breaks and enjoy the life that you're trying to create. It is yours for the taking today. If there is a particular obstacle that you are facing, make sure that you drop it in the comments. I will help you if I can. And I'm going to link some other decluttering videos that are really going to help you on your journey to a clutter-free, spacious home. Make sure that you check those out, and until next time, go raibh míle maith. Agus feici mé sibh go luath. Slán!